Okay, first of all, thank you all for coming. So my name is Andy Porter. Most of you probably are aware of me or heard of me or heard about things. So Helen asked me just to come in to do a quick psychic surgery demonstration, really, mainly kind of aimed at therapists and that aspect, but obviously this type of work is sort of open to everybody, so I'm kind of going to cover quite a wide range of subjects. So the way I tend to work is, as you've probably seen already, is very informal, just down to earth, normal guy, just doing what I consider to be normal stuff. So feel free to sort of break in at any point, ask questions or talk, or, so I don't really tend to have an agenda, because things just tend to work the way they do, as we all know that if you're working with spirit, they'll decide anyway, so I've kind of given up trying to run things to a certain degree. So what I'll do is I'll just do a quick sort of summary and profile of who I am and why I'm stood here and you're stood there. And then what I'll do is I'll basically move over to bring my guide in, whose name's Chen. So he's a little kind of short Chinese guy that talks very fast. So if he talks too fast, just someone say, can you slow down? Or if you can't hear properly, ask me to sort of increase the volume. And he will. And he can talk non-stop for the whole day, so time could be a problem. So what I was sort of kind of thinking was, when I first spoke to Helen, she was talking about like an hour and a half, 2 hour session. So does that kind of work with you guys? So what I was thinking was to do like an hour basically, and then have a sort of like comfort break, toilet, water and that kind of thing, and then kick off for like the second hour afterwards. So my general plan was to basically do a session whereby whoever feels they want to, or if no one does then it's fine, but can come up here and actually lie down, and Chen will actually sort of start working on you. So you don't kind of have to have anything like drastically wrong. He'll just do like a top-up session or an energy check or just whatever kind of happens really. So if any of you are thinking, oh yeah, I've got a bad leg or a bad shoulder, then this is the place to be. And at the same time you can then give feedback to everybody else in the room as to the things that you're feeling or the things you're not feeling or whatever else, because it kind of works in like a dual aspect, so that you're providing real feedback to the people that you know, and obviously you know that it's real, if you like. That's one of the things I found when I kind of started to go to these sorts of things, is you look at the people around the room and you see some guy doing a demo, but you don't know if it's his family or his friends and they're giving the right feedback or the wrong feedback. And it was one of the things that kind of niggled me, and I thought, stupidly, if ever I'm up the front rather than sat over there, that's something I want to make sure that everybody is very, very clear on, that what's going on here is real and there is no kind of handshaking and setup and that kind of thing. So that's my point. So if we sort of go back, so I was like Mr. Joe Normal, working in IT, doing normal stuff, I consider to be normal. So no religious persuasion, not into ET, alien stuff, just pretty boring really, as most people tend to be. And then went through a few changes, got divorced, etc. Met my wife now, Jane. And it's her fault actually, not here. Either way. So when we got together, everything kind of changed for me really. I started to see things and started to hear things, and it was pretty frightening. And I'd moved to a new house in Chippenham, at what I call Pewsham Estate, which we call the house on the hill. So I was living there on my own for about 6 months, and it was a nightmare really. So I was going to bed and there were things in the room. I was getting goosebumps all the time. I'd never had them before, and it was quite scary. And things progressed from there really, to the point that the heating would come on and off on its own. The heating would come on and I'd be lying in bed and be sweating and I'd jump up, but the actual controller was off, but the heating was on, the radiators were hot, and weird stuff was going on. I thought I was actually sort of losing the plot and going mad. And Jane thought the same thing. So, and it kind of moved on then to the point that, banging, crashing outside the door. I was in bed with the lights on, so I was sleeping with the lights on by now, because I was frightened to death in the dark, and I'm seeing sort of shadows underneath the doorways, and that kind of thing. It just, when you're new to this, you don't know where to go to get help, and it's really frightening, because you think, if I tell the doctor, then it's goodbye for quite some time. Tell your family, they think you're crackers as well. You can't talk to your friends about it because they just laugh and say we ought to be smoking type thing. So actually there's not really many places you can go, and I found that quite difficult. And then things got worse and worse, to the point that then things were kind of getting into bed with me at night, the covers were physically lifting up, and I could feel things getting in, and I was racing out the other side, shouting expletives and stuff like that really. And then what kind of capped it all for me really, one night I was lying in bed and it was sort of 3 o'clock in the morning, which obviously is the worst time for most of us, if you're spiritual. And I actually came to and realised I was looking at the back of the wall as opposed to the ceiling, which meant that the bed was like 2 foot off the floor. And I absolutely jumped out my skin and screamed, and I had a laminate floor at the time, and the bed had casters, so the bed crashed back to the floor, and I, as all men do, pulled the covers over it, and like spent the rest of the night shaking, didn't sleep a wink. So in the morning I came to and thought, well, that must have been a dream. And I got out of bed, and sure enough the bed had moved off the casters completely, and I thought, right, this is like really bad, I need help. So at that point I was sort of talking to Jane, and she had a friend who was a psychic basically, and sort of after one thing led to another, she spoke to her and she connected to me in the house. I said, yeah, there's loads of stuff in it, it's really bad, so I can clear this for you. And I came home and it was like, wow, the house feels fine, no goosebumps anymore, and it was just, for a few weeks it was okay, and then things started to happen again. And at that point I thought, right, I need to understand this, because I work in IT, I'm quite logically sort of left-brained really. I thought something's happening here to me that I need to understand. So I just did what we all do probably and headed off to Glastonbury, home with all the crackerjacks. I needed to be one, really. So I just basically purchased a whole stack of books and came home back to Chippenham and just went through these books like in sort of 5 minutes, and went back to Glastonbury and we bought more books, and sort of our life changed into this, onto the spiritual path really, and I started to understand what was going on and understand about negative things that can affect you and they can change your life. And then I ended up hooking up with a guy in Marlborough called Brian. He was really a really sort of connected guy and very good at sort of entity clearing and that kind of thing. And being me, I wanted to know everything in 5 minutes, which I'm sure you've all been there, and it just doesn't work that way. So the 5 minutes turns into 10 years, obviously, and you're still learning. So I started to go and see Brian and basically pay for his time, not to actually work on me, just to talk to me and explain things to me about what was going on and why it was going on and what I could do to it. So he started to teach me the sort of psychic protection techniques, and we'd look and I'd connect to things and I'd explain to him what I could see in my mind, and he'd say, yeah, okay, I've got that, and we'd sort of work through things. It was kind of an expensive training course really, because I was hemorrhaging money. But every time I'd see him, I'd then come away with a whole million more questions, thinking, I need to cover this now, I need to cover why, human evolution and ETs and all this other stuff. So that led to then joining psychic circles and crystals and all the normal things, Reiki. And at the end of my Reiki master course, the lady Anne from Melksham said to me, I've got a little Chinese guy stood here called Chen, who talks a lot. And she said, he's going to be your guide and you're going to be doing this like psychic surgery stuff, which I'd never heard of instantly really. So I said, okay. And then from there on in, he started to come through in psychic circles and groups and talk to me, and we'd have conversations and things. And I felt normal for a while. And then obviously then it got to the point that he actually wanted to come in and take over and actually speak physically, and that was when the trance work kind of started. So that's my kind of summary. So from there, obviously from doing the trance work and Chen coming in and taking over, then we set a website up and thought, right, I need to help people that were in my position, because I spent ages looking for someone to help. And the few people that we did find ran away pretty quickly when they realised what we were dealing with. There was some pretty black stuff going on in a certain part of our life, and some of the people that were into like mediumship and things weren't really set up to do that and work in that area, hence they ran away very fast. So I thought, right, well, I can do this, I'm going to write a book that's really simple for normal people that can understand what's happening and hopefully help them in the same way that I kind of looked for help. And the next thing that happens is I'm then doing in-person work at home. So Jane and I had like a little kind of workshop in the garden, so we'd have people come in and put hands on. Chen would have a great time for a few hours, and I'd lose half the day every Sunday. And that happened for years. And now basically I tend to do mostly remote work on people rather than in-person physical type stuff, only because of sort of work demands, and that's the area that I've kind of moved into. And this is where I kind of teamed up with Terry, so that was 2 or 3 years ago probably now.
About 4.
4. It feels like
Time flies when you have fun, doesn't it?
Yeah, so we started to get into the more psychological aspect. So I started to find that a lot of clients have been drawn to me were sort of schizophrenics, hearing voices, quite difficult people aspects of mental health problems, entity problems, people that have done witchcraft, a lot of black occult type problems as well. So some of these clients were pretty difficult, to say the least, really. But I kind of found that that was something that I enjoyed and I quite liked. So that was the area that we moved into. And now we've got to a point that sort of Terry and I have sort of kind of grouped together and set up a new website and looking at researching the whole hearing voices phenomenon, why people do, and when they hear voices, can we get rid of them, what we need to do to get rid of them. And the idea is that we're going to try and come up with techniques that are proven on multiple cases that actually work. And the idea is then that other therapists can take those techniques and people can go off and do it. So I don't want to be the guy that has to do this, really. I'm quite keen to work with Terry, come up with the way it works and it's proven, and then we can sort of push it into the spiritual domain and let other therapists pick up these same techniques and start working with these people.
And educate the psychiatrists.
Yeah, and obviously the medical
Yeah,
profession is
that's the
over
way to
here
go.
and we're sort of there. And we're keen to join them really and start working hand in hand, which at the moment they're not that receptive, obviously. But we're thinking that they will be because we'll persevere. So it's, and you know, from my point of view, that's what Chen's telling me, that's where things are going. This whole mental health hearing voices thing is going to explode across the whole world, not just in our country. And therefore people need to be given the right skills to deal with these people because, you know, the mental health system can't cope already. And we're not even at, you know, kind of like the start stage really. So there's only so many institutions and places people can go that hearing voices that are psychotic and you know, self-harming and all these sorts of things. So there is this big gap between what can be offered by the sort of medical profession and obviously people like us can actually intervene here and start to work with these people. So it's, and I'm not saying that we can fix all the problems, I'm not saying that the spiritual end is the right way completely. Everything has to happen as a dual aspect. So certain things we can do and then we need to push them back into the medical profession and say, right, this guy now doesn't have any entities, he's got no negative things with him, etc. He might still have mental health problems, but now they are really mental health problems or emotional problems. It's not negative stuff that's encouraging the behaviour that you're seeing. And this is where we've actually started to make some quite good inroads with different patients, really. And we've got some quite tricky and difficult ones to deal with.
We've got a demonstration coming up here on the 28th, haven't we?
Yeah, it's on the 28th, we actually got our Hearing Voices workschop basically in this room modelling to do exactly this. And we're going to invite people that are actually hearing voices, so real schizophrenics to come in, and it's going to be alive. Let's see what we can do, how we can work with them. We get the real feedback in the room at the same time, and this sort of thing doesn't tend to get done in the normal way. So most people go and take tablets, wait 6 months, see your feeling, blah blah blah. Whereas we're thinking that if we do it live with everyone around, with real people hearing voices, we'll know what works and what doesn't and what things we can do. And obviously the idea is to video the techniques and we can start to use that on the website and start to push it out to a wider audience. That's the plan. So I'm going to hand over to Chen now, basically, because he's ready to go. So does anyone want to be the first person on the table for a top-up type thing? Or has anyone got problems they want looked at? Or there's no kind of racing around the table, you know, doing all the Reiki positions and all that stuff. Far too much exercise for me. So for just to connect, Chen will come in, he'll start taking over, and then if you can just provide sort of verbal feedback as to what you feel.
Well, as it's going on, or
Yeah, so as it's going on, just break in and say, well, I hope you're not
you
youch.
have to break in. Yeah. My leg doesn't bend that way.
Yeah, things like that would be good, really.
Okay.
So from my perspective, the whole point of psychic surgery is there's no pain because it's happening on the etheric level, not on the physical. So all of the work that Chen and his team will do will be on that etheric body, which is a complete blueprint copy of your physical body, with all the same organs, all the same things. So he makes a change to the mirror copy, and after a period of time, normally sort of 5 to 7 days, those changes vibrate back into the physical, and therefore you see the healing happening on the physical level. So if we've got negative entities or attachments in the etheric, as soon as he removes them, that the person should know instantly. So this is why I kind of favour this working in the darker area, because it's more instantaneous from a feedback perspective. So as soon as you move something out that's been connected to somebody that's causing voices or pains or telling them bad things, that should stop immediately, and therefore you can get that feedback. And say, yeah, my voice has stopped. Whereas when you're working on someone that's got a long-term illness or problem, obviously, you know, we're not working miracles here. It's going to take a time for that to happen. And there's obviously a behavioural aspect that has to be identified and looked at as well, which, you know, you're all therapists, so you know that if people have got bad patterns in the way that they live, you know, the things they eat and drink and things they do, drugs and that kind of thing, you can do your best on a spiritual, etheric basis, but if they don't change the physical, then, you know, it's going to take a long time to actually get any type of benefit. So things have to work hand in hand. It's okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put my hands on your tummy.